Reporting live from Channel Tizzy. Today we're doing workout gear. Hercules, Hercules, yes, lift the...
Tonight, startling new details in the death of a woman in the West Chase area. Court records show the man behind bars for her murder had been stalking her.
Houston, Texas, July 2nd, 2024, 7:30 in the evening. A 25-year-old woman pulls up to her apartment complex after a long day. She parks, grabs her things, and walks toward her building. She had moved here recently. New apartment, new address, a fresh start, and nobody was supposed to know where she lived. What she didn't know was that someone had already been standing outside her door for 12 minutes, waiting, listening. Her name was Tanesha Richards, and I need you to understand something before we go any further into this story. Tanesha was not careless. She was not naive. She was not someone who ignored the warning signs and hoped for the best. She was a 25-year-old woman with a career at one of the most respected medical institutions in the country, Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. She had a family who loved her, parents, 3 siblings, people who were proud of everything she was building. She had a life that was genuinely going somewhere. And when the threats started, she did exactly what every safety expert, every women's advocate, every law enforcement professional tells you to do. She moved, she quit her job so he couldn't find her at work. She changed her number, cut off every possible connection, and then walked into a police station and filed a formal report. She told them his name. She told them he was a parolee, and she looked that officer in the eye and said, "I am scared for my life." So here is the one question that is going to follow you through this entire video, the same question that kept her family up at night, that made headlines across the country. That prosecutors stood in a courtroom and asked out loud, if Tanesha Richards did everything right, why is she dead? 7 months. That is how long her police report sat inside the Houston Police Department system, untouched, unread, unassigned. 7 months where a man with a violent criminal history was out there tracking her, hiring private investigators to find her new address, stealing her social security number, calling her job in disguise, and nobody from law enforcement made a single move. Not one phone call, not one follow-up, nothing. I want you to really sit with that, because this story is not just about one man's obsession. This is about what happens when the system that is supposed to protect people quietly decides not to show up. And here is the part that makes this even harder to process. While Tanesha was running for her life, the Houston Police Department had a secret that nobody was talking about yet. A secret involving not hundreds, not thousands, but 264,000 criminal reports that had been quietly buried inside their own database. Cases that real people filed, real people who were scared, real people who trusted the process. Tanesha Richards was 25 years old. She had her whole life mapped out, and on the night of July 2nd, 2024, a man who the system had every reason and every opportunity to stop walked through her front door. How does something like this happen in America in 2024? We are going to answer that, all of it. But before we get deeper into this story, I need you to stay with me until the end of this video, because in Chapter 4, I am going to walk you through specific safety steps that could genuinely protect your life or the life of someone you love. And these are not generic tips you have heard 100 times before. These are the exact gaps that were exploited in Tanesha's case. And knowing them might be the difference that changes everything. Let's get into it. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive.
Yeah, so what's poppin', vlog? What the fuck is good? Yeah, what's good? Molly was good. Anyways.
It started with one date, spring of 2023, Houston, Texas. Tanesha met Bruce Wayne Gerard, and within that single encounter, she knew something was off. She ended it immediately, clearly and firmly. No mixed signals, no back and forth. She was done. Gerard was 43 years old, and rejection to this man was not something he accepted. What followed was not heartbreak. It was a campaign. Over 100 text messages, between 44 and 88 missed calls recorded in a single stretch of time. When she moved apartments, he hired private investigators to track down her new address. When she quit her job to disappear, he called her workplace anyway, pretending to be a delivery driver, then a job applicant, just to confirm she had been there. He got hold of her social security number, her tax returns, not personal documents that should have been impossible for him to access. But here is where it gets really interesting, and not in a good way. This was not Gerard's first time doing something like this. In 2005, in Nueces County, Texas, he broke into the home of a pregnant ex-girlfriend and stabbed her 17 times. She survived. Her unborn child did not. Gerard was charged with capital murder, but the charge was reduced because prosecutors could not prove fetal viability under the laws at that time. He was convicted of aggravated assault and sentenced to 20 years. He served only a portion of that sentence before being released on parole. After his release, the Harris County legal system crossed paths with him repeatedly. A 2022 retaliation charge against a former partner, dismissed when the victim went missing. A 2023 aggravated assault charge involving a firearm, dismissed when prosecutors could not locate the complainant. Then in April 2024, just 3 months before Tanesha's death, he was arrested for strangling a woman. That case was dismissed too for insufficient evidence. 3 women, 3 dismissed cases. 1 man walking free with a documented history of targeted violence against women who tried to leave him. By the time he locked his attention onto Tanesha Richards, the system had essentially handed him a blueprint, and he knew exactly how it worked. If you are watching this and something about this pattern feels familiar, whether it is happening to you or someone close to you, I need you to pay close attention, because this channel exists for moments exactly like this one. Hit that subscribe button right now, because the story we are telling today is not the only one. There are cases just like this one, and some of them are still unfolding.
Also tonight, startling new details in the death of a woman in the West Chase area. Court records show the man behind bars for her murder had been stalking her prior to a horrifying home invasion last month near West Park in Gessner. As ABC 13's Micah Hatfield found out, the victim made a recent cry for help.
After police arrested Bruce Wayne Gerard, they say they found disturbing notes relating to the victim inside of his car. According to a search warrant, he had handwritten a plan on how he planned to find her using her social security number and phone records. They also say they found a note that said, quote, "I will find Tanesha Richards." For roughly 12 minutes, Bruce Wayne Gerard stood outside of Tanesha Richards' condo at the Idlewood complex on July 2nd. A neighbor's surveillance camera caught the man repeatedly ringing the doorbell and pacing back and forth, according to a search warrant. But then 25-year-old Richards, seen here in a photo from Facebook, cracked the door to answer it. And the video caught him forcing his way inside. Between 3 and 4 minutes later, investigators note that he left. A neighbor called police, who found Richards dead from gunshot wounds inside. It's unclear the extent of their relationship, but it seems that they knew of each other at least. Richards had made a police report in December of last year, according to records, saying that Gerard had just gotten out of jail and was harassing and threatening her. She wrote that she was scared Bruce would find where she lives now, and that she was, quote, "scared for her life." Houston police arrested Gerard on July 5th and say they found Richards' tax returns in his car and a photo of her with, quote, "no weapon, no evil eye, no curse of the third party will work. No person can control or stop us," handwritten on the photo. 43-year-old Gerard is now charged with capital murder, and a judge denied his bond. He is currently on parole for a 2005 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge.
In December 2023, Tanesha walked into a Houston Police Department station and filed a formal report. She named Bruce Gerard specifically. She noted that he was a parolee. She told them she was scared for her life. Under standard procedure, that report should have been routed immediately to the Special Victims Division or the Major Assaults and Family Violence Division for urgent follow-up. It never got there. For 7 months, that report sat in HPD's system with nobody assigned to it, while Gerard continued to track her every move. And then the real story broke open. In early 2024, an internal investigation revealed that the Houston Police Department had been using a quiet administrative code, suspended lack of personnel, to effectively shelve criminal reports and move them out of active rotation. The total number of reports buried this way since 2016 was 264,000. More than 4,000 of those were adult sexual assault cases. Real people, real fear, real reports filed in good faith, sitting in a database while their situations got worse. Police Chief Troy Finner retired suddenly in May 2024. Mayor John Whitmire launched an emergency audit. The department acknowledged what investigators called a systemic failure in violent crime case management. HPD would later claim that Tanesha's specific report was not technically tagged with the suspension code. But here's the thing. It did not matter what code was on it. Nobody touched it. The district attorney's office never knew her complaint existed, which meant no harassment charge was ever filed, no parole hold was ever triggered. Amron Girard remained completely untouched by the law while he closed in on her. After he was arrested, investigators searched his vehicle and found a photograph of Tanesha. On the back of it, Girard had written, "No weapon, no evil eye, no curse of the third party will work, and no person can control or stop us." He did not see her as a person who had the right to say no. He saw her as someone who belonged to him, and for 7 months nothing and no one told him any different. Most people would stop here and just be angry. But what happens next is the part that needs to be heard. 7:30 p.m. Tanesha pulls up to the Idlewood complex on West Park Drive. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's camera captured everything. Girard had already been in that hallway for 12 minutes before she arrived, pacing, pressing his ear against her door. She opened it a crack, just enough to see who was there. He forced his way in, pushed her back, kicked the door shut behind him. Inside that apartment, Tanesha fought back. She grabbed a heavy dog bowl and tried to use it. It was not enough. She was shot once in the leg and once in the chest. Girard stayed inside for 3 to 4 minutes after the shooting. When he walked out, he was calm. Both of her cell phones were in his pockets. Prosecutors would later describe him as a man who did exactly what he went there to do. He was arrested 3 days later on July 5th. His car told the full story. A handwritten note that read, "I will find Tanesha Richards." Her social security number, her tax documents, the photograph with the inscription on the back, and a voicemail he had left her shortly before the killing, warning her to keep her eyes open, telling her he had something much better in mind. He thought he had ended the call. He had not. The recording kept going, and what the jury heard next was him muttering to himself, "I'm going to kill this bear." That voicemail became the centerpiece of the entire trial. Now I promised you this in Chapter 1, so here it is. The safety information that this case demands. 1. Filing a police report is not enough. Follow up in writing, request a case number, and ask which division it has been assigned to. 2. If law enforcement does not respond within a reasonable time, contact your local victim advocacy organization directly. They have legal tools that bypass slow police response. 3. Stalkers frequently use identity theft to track victims. Place a credit freeze on your social security number immediately through all 3 major credit bureaus. 4. Tell someone you trust the full picture, a friend, a family member, a co-worker, someone who checks in on you regularly and knows the name of the person you are afraid of. 5. Document every single contact attempt with dates, times, screenshots, and voicemails. Courts need patterns, not just incidents. Tanesha did most of these things. The gap was not her preparation. The gap was the system that was supposed to receive her information and act on it. Knowing these steps and pushing past the first barrier of a slow response could be what saves your life or someone else's. The trial of Bruce Wayne Girard was held in the 482nd State District Court in Harris County. Prosecutors Michael Simons and Kelly Marshall built their entire case around one argument, that this was an avoidable tragedy that every institution with the power to intervene had chosen not to. The defense, led by attorney Tyrone Moncrief, called no witnesses. His only argument was that the shooting might have been accidental, a struggle over the weapon in the foyer. The jury had already seen the surveillance footage. They had already heard the voicemail. They had already read the notes found in Girard's car. They were not persuaded. After 2 days of testimony, Bruce Wayne Girard was convicted of capital murder. In Texas, when the death penalty is not pursued, that conviction carries an automatic sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. He will never leave. He will never have another victim. But Tanesha's family is still carrying a question that no verdict fully answers. She told the police she was scared. She gave them a name. She gave them everything. And for 7 months, that information sat in a building a few miles from where she was being hunted. The Houston Police Department is still working through its audit of those 264,000 suspended reports. Reforms are being pushed at both the department level and in the Texas legislature around stalking classifications and parole oversight for violent offenders. It is progress. It just came too late for one woman who deserves so much better from the country she lived and worked in. To the Richards family, Felipe, Melissa, Dondrell, Felipe Jr., and Anisha, there are no words that are adequate. Tanesha was brilliant, she was driven, she was loved, and she fought to protect herself with everything she had. Her story will not be forgotten here. To everyone who made it to the end, thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.